The Avengers think they've faced gods before. They've stood against alien invasions, cosmic tyrants, and reality-bending chaos. They've seen Thanos snap half the universe into dust. They've watched gods fall and heroes rise from the ashes. But this is something else. The anomaly appears over New York at 3:47 a.m. Not a portal, not a tear, but a wound in space itself. It doesn't glow with Rainbow Bridge energy or crackle with Tesseract power. It simply breathes. The air grows heavy. Gravity shifts. And through that wound, stepping from darkness into darkness, comes a figure in black. No army, no fleet. Just one man, if you can even call him that anymore. The silence that follows his arrival is deafening. Shield sensors go haywire before going completely dead. Dr. Strange jolts awake in the sanctum, clutching his chest as if the mystic arts themselves are screaming. Across the city, enhanced individuals feel it, a pressure against their minds, cold and mechanical and utterly wrong. This isn't magic. It isn't an infinity stone. It's something the Marvel Universe has never encountered. The dark side of the Force, pure and undiluted, carried in the shell of a man who died decades ago but refused to stop walking. Darth Vader doesn't announce himself, he doesn't demand, he simply is, and that presence alone makes the universe hold its breath. If you want more tales of unstoppable forces colliding with worlds unprepared for their arrival, subscribe and join us in exploring what happens when hope meets the hopeless. The first responders never stood a chance. S.H.I.E.L.D. deploys a containment team within minutes, 12 agents, level 6 clearance, armed with experimental tech designed to counter enhanced threats. They establish a perimeter 6 blocks from the anomaly point. They use their training. They follow protocol. None of it matters. Vader doesn't run toward them. He walks. Each step is measured, mechanical, inevitable. The lead agent, Marcus Chen, has faced Hydra super soldiers and survived the Chitauri invasion. His hands don't shake when he raises his weapon. "Halt! Identify yourself or we will open fire." His voice carries authority. Vader's breathing is the only response, that rhythmic, artificial sound that seems to pull oxygen from the air itself. Chen gives the order. Bullets fly. They stop 3 feet from Vader's outstretched hand, not deflected, not blocked, simply frozen, hanging in midair like insects in amber. The agents stare, training forgotten, as physics bends around this armored figure. Vader closes his fist. The bullets crumple, folding into themselves with sounds like breaking bones. Then his hand turns, palm facing the ground, and 12 bodies drop simultaneously. Not thrown, not blasted. They simply collapse as if gravity multiplied tenfold, crushing them against asphalt hard enough to crack. Vader walks past the carnage without breaking stride. In his mind there is no satisfaction, no anger, only the mission, though what that mission is, even he cannot fully articulate. He knows only that he is here, and this reality bends just as easily as his own. The media catches it within the hour. Shaky phone footage spreads across social media, a towering figure in black, cape billowing in wind that shouldn't exist, walking through Times Square as cars veer and crash around him. Pedestrians run screaming, some stand frozen, recording, unable to look away. Vader ignores them all. He is searching, though for what he cannot name. The Force whispers here differently than in his galaxy. It speaks of infinity stones and cosmic entities, of timelines fractured and realities stacked like pages in a book. This universe is younger than his, more hopeful, built on a foundation of heroes who believe in redemption. That foundation is about to be tested, because Vader stopped believing in redemption the day he watched Padme die. Tony Stark sees the footage while working in his Malibu workshop. Jarvis flags it as Priority 1, and Tony watches in silence as the figure casually waves his hand and 3 police cars flip end over end without being touched. Jarvis, run analysis. What am I looking at? The AI processes for 30 seconds, an eternity by its standards. Unable to identify energy signature, sir. The phenomenon does not match any known technology, magic, or enhanced ability in our databases. gravitational distortions without a source, matter manipulation without visible mechanism. Sir, our physics models cannot account for what just occurred. Tony replays the footage, studies the armor, the breathing apparatus, the mechanical precision. Get me Strange, and wake up the team. We've got a problem. Across the Atlantic, in a Hydra facility buried beneath the Alps, Baron Zemo watches the same footage with growing fascination. He sees what others miss, the way Vader moves without hesitation, without mercy, without the weakness of conscience that plagues so-called heroes. This is not a man seeking power, this is power wearing a man's shape. Zemo has spent years studying enhanced individuals, super soldiers, gods who walk among mortals. He knows strength when he sees it, but this is something purer, something absolute. He leans forward in his chair, fingers steepled. Perhaps, he whispers to empty air, this universe needs a demonstration of what true order looks like. He doesn't yet understand that Vader serves no cause but the one that imprisoned him decades ago. Some lessons must be learned in blood. The sun rises over a changed New York. Morning news anchors struggle to explain the impossible. The NYPD has cordoned off 15 blocks. The National Guard is mobilizing. And somewhere in that quarantine zone, Darth Vader stands atop a building, looking out over a city that has no idea what he represents. He feels the force flowing through this reality, chaotic, untamed, split between light and dark in ways his galaxy never permitted. Here, heroes and villains play games of morality. Here, they pull their punches. Here, they believe in second chances. Vader's respirator hisses its eternal rhythm. He knows how this ends. He's lived it before. Hope is a lie. Heroes are fools. And this universe, bright and young and so certain of its righteousness, is about to learn what his galaxy learned millennia ago. Some darkness cannot be fought, only endured. Director Nick Fury doesn't panic. He's stared down Kree invasions, faced Loki's mind games, and negotiated with beings who could shatter planets. But watching the live satellite feed of Vader standing motionless atop the Chrysler building, Fury feels something he hasn't felt in decades, genuine uncertainty. Enhanced Response Team Gamma, you're green lit for engagement. Romanoff, you have tactical command. On the ground, 3 blocks from Vader's position, Natasha Romanoff assembles the team's shield keeps for situations exactly like this. Not the Avengers, they're the nuclear option. This is the scalpel before the hammer. 12 enhanced operatives, each with abilities ranging from limited telepathy to matter phasing to enhanced strength that rivals Captain America. They've trained for this. Alien warlords, rogue inhumans, Omega-level mutants. Their success rate is 93%. Vader will make them wish they'd never been enhanced at all. The team moves in standard formation. Psychic scouts ahead, heavy hitters in the middle, support anchoring the rear. Maya Sokolov, the telepath, reaches out first. Her orders are simple: establish contact, assess intent, determine if negotiation is possible. Her mind touches Vader's, and she screams. Not verbally, telepaths rarely do, but every S.H.I.E.L.D. agent within 100 yards hears it through their comms, a sound of absolute psychological collapse. Maya drops to her knees, blood streaming from her nose, eyes rolled back. "Darkness," she gasps. "Nothing but darkness and machines and burning and—" She convulses. Natasha grabs her, pulls her back. "Maya, disengage, fall back." But Maya is already gone, lost somewhere in the labyrinth of Vader's memories, drowning in decades of pain that no human mind was built to witness. Vader didn't even know she was there. The heavy hitters don't wait for orders. Dmitry Hammer Volkov masses E.8 100 pounds of enhanced muscle and regenerative tissue. He's survived direct hits from Hulk. He's confident, he's fast, he leaps from street level to rooftop in one bound, covering 60 feet in seconds, and drives his fist toward Vader's helmet with enough force to shatter concrete. Vader doesn't turn. He raises one hand, almost casual, and Dmitry stops mid-air, frozen, struggling. Vader's fingers curl, and Dmitri rises higher, lifted by invisible hands that squeeze like a vice. "You will tell me," Vader's voice cuts through the morning air, mechanized and emotionless, "where I am, what this place is called." Dmitri can't breathe, can't speak. Vader tilts his head, a gesture that might be curiosity in something human. "Unfortunate." The fingers close into a fist. Dmitri's neck snaps with a sound like breaking timber. Natasha makes the call every tactical commander dreads. "All units, full retreat. Fall back to secondary perimeter. This is not an enhanced individual. Repeat, this is not standard protocol." Her team doesn't argue. They've seen their strongest member killed like an insect. They scatter, using every technique drilled into them: smoke grenades, flashbangs, electromagnetic pulses designed to disrupt enhanced senses. None of it matters. Vader walks through the smoke as if it's morning mist. The flashbangs detonate and he doesn't flinch. His helmet filters everything. His connection to the Force shows him their positions regardless of sight. The electromagnetic pulse washes over him and his suit doesn't flicker. Because this armor wasn't built with Earth technology, it wasn't built in this universe at all. 2 more operatives die before they reach the perimeter. One crushed against a wall by telekinetic force, another simply stops breathing as Vader closes his airways from 40 yards away. The footage reaches the Avengers Tower within minutes. Steve Rogers watches in silence as enhanced agents, people he's trained with, sparred against, trusted, are systematically dismantled. "This isn't a fight," he says quietly. "This is an execution." Tony Stark pulls up every angle, runs every analysis. "Jarvis, comparative threat assessment. Where does this rank?" The AI responds immediately. "Above Loki's invasion in terms of individual lethality, comparable to a single Infinity Stone wielder in terms of reality manipulation. Sir, standard combat protocols will not be effective. This entity demonstrates simultaneous mastery of telekinesis, telepathic resistance, precognition, and what appears to be matter manipulation at the molecular level. He is, for all practical purposes, a one-man extinction event who happens to be walking slowly." Tony looks at Steve. Steve looks at Tony. Neither speaks. The thought, both are having, "Can we actually stop this?" Thor arrives first, drawn by Heimdall's warning of a disturbance in reality's fabric. He lands in front of Vader with thunder rolling across a cloudless sky, Mjolnir crackling with lightning. "I am Thor, son of Odin, protector of Midgard. You have slain innocents and must answer for—" Vader's hand shoots forward and Thor slams backward into a building hard enough to crater the wall. The god of thunder rises, shocked but not injured, and hurls Mjolnir with all his considerable might. The hammer flies true, unstoppable, enchanted, and stops 6 inches from Vader's palm, held in place by the Force. Thor calls it back. It doesn't move. Vader examines it, this impossible weapon, feeling the magic woven into metal, different from the Force but not incompatible. Interesting. He releases it, and the hammer rockets back to Thor's hand. "You have power," Vader acknowledges, "but you fight with the arrogance of one who has never truly lost." Thor charges, and for the first time since arriving in this universe, Vader moves with full intent. He doesn't dodge. He redirects, using the Force to shift Thor's momentum, turning the god's strength against him. Lightning crashes down and Vader absorbs it into his palm, channeling it through the dark side, turning divine energy into fuel for his power. They clash across rooftops, a god of thunder against a lord of the Sith, and civilians watching from below see something that shakes them to their core. Their protector, their champion of Asgard, is being methodical, dismantled. Not overpowered, outclassed, Vader fights like someone who has spent decades perfecting the art of killing things stronger than himself. Every movement is economy, every gesture has purpose. Thor realizes with growing horror that this armored figure is bored. He's not struggling, he's not even trying. He's teaching himself how this universe's power works by using Thor as a test subject. The fight ends when Vader catches Thor by the throat mid-charge and holds him suspended above the street. Lightning courses through Vader's armor, scorching the black metal, and Vader doesn't release his grip. Your strength is borrowed, Vader says, voice steady despite the electrical onslaught. Your power comes from heritage and weapons. You have never had to earn survival. He squeezes just enough to make his point. I have earned nothing but pain for 40 years. Your lightning cannot hurt worse than what I endure with every breath. He releases Thor, who drops heavily, gasping. Vader turns away, dismissive. Bring me someone who understands suffering. These children bore me. He walks into the shadow of a construction site, cape trailing, leaving Thor kneeling in the street, alive but defeated, a god reduced to mortal helplessness. And across every news channel, every social media feed, the world watches and understands. The age of heroes believing they're invincible just ended. Dr. Stephen Strange steps through a portal into the construction site, the eye of Agamotto glowing against his chest. He's already cast 17 protective wards, consulted the Book of Vishanti, and traced Vader's energy signature across dimensional barriers. What he found terrifies him, not because it's powerful, but because it's absent. This entity doesn't register on any mystical spectrum Strange knows, not divine, not demonic, not eldritch. It's a void wrapped in metal, a black hole of intent that swallows light and hope alike. I am Dr. Strange, master of the mystic arts and defender of this reality. You will come with me peacefully, or I will be forced to... Vader interrupts by gesturing casually, and Strange's portal snaps shut like a closing eye. The sorcerer stumbles, shocked. Nobody closes his portals. He's the sorcerer supreme. Vader's breathing fills the silence between them. Your arts are primitive, Vader states, studying Strange with the same clinical interest he showed Thor. You draw power from entities beyond your comprehension, bargaining with forces you pretend to control. The Force requires no such weakness. He raises a hand, and the construction equipment around them, steel beams, concrete mixers, scaffolding, lifts into the air without effort. Strange counters immediately, golden mandalas of eldritch energy spinning into existence, attempting to bind the telekinetic assault. For a moment, they're evenly matched, mystic geometry against raw will. Then Vader does something Strange has never seen. He doesn't attack the spells. He attacks the space between them, using the Force to compress reality itself, creating gravitational distortions that warp Strange's carefully constructed geometries. The mandalas shatter. Strange barely throws up a shield before a steel beam impales the space where his chest was. This isn't magic. This is something worse. Strange shifts tactics, attempting the mirror dimension, a pocket reality where he holds absolute power, where he can trap threats without endangering civilians. The world fractures, kaleidoscoping into impossible geometry, buildings folding like origami. Vader stands unmoved as reality bends around him. Strange manipulates the dimension, turning streets into vertical mazes, collapsing buildings into crushing vices. Vader walks through it all, the dark side anchoring him to his own certainty. I have walked through dying stars, Vader says, his voice echoing through fractured dimensions. I have survived the death of who I was. Your illusions cannot touch someone who already lives in a nightmare. He punches through the dimensional barrier with pure force, not because he understands the mystic arts, but because he understands will, and his will, forged in decades of agony, is absolute. The mirror dimension cracks. Strange pulls them back to reality, panting, disbelieving. "What are you?" Strange asks, and for the first time there's genuine fear in his voice. He's faced Dormammu. He's bargained with death itself. But Dormammu was comprehensible, ancient evil seeking conquest. This is just a man in armor who has forgotten how to stop walking. Vader considers the question. In another life, another galaxy, he might have said Anakin Skywalker. But Anakin died on Mustafar, burned away by lava and hatred. I am what remains when everything else is taken, Vader answers. Your universe believes in heroes, in redemption, in hope. He takes a step closer. Strange holds his ground, but his hands shake, forming defensive spells. I believed once. The galaxy burned for my belief. Your hope will burn the same way. The words aren't a threat. They're prophecy, spoken by someone who has seen hope die too many times to count. A Across the city, in a small apartment in Greenwich Village. Age, Wanda Maximoff clutches her head as reality screams. She's been feeling it since the anomaly appeared, a resonance in the fabric of existence like a tuning fork struck at the frequency of loss and grief and rage. Her powers have always been connected to emotion, to the raw chaos of reality responding to will. But this is different. This is someone whose entire existence is grief weaponized. She sees flashes, not visions exactly, but echoes. A woman dying, a child burning, a man screaming in a medical bay as machines build a prison from his own body. No, Wanda whispers, red energy crackling around her fingers involuntarily. No, that's not possible. Nobody suffers like that and survives. But the resonance tells her otherwise. Someone did suffer like that. Someone is still suffering like that. And he's here. Vision finds her on the floor, reality warping around her in defensive spirals. Wanda, what's happening? He reaches for her, and the chaos magic lashes out, not attacking, but recognizing. The Mind Stone in his forehead pulses in response, drawn to the dark side presence across the city, like gravity pulling at a star. Vision staggers. In his synthetic mind, designed to process vast amounts of information simultaneously, he experiences something unprecedented. Fear. Not for himself, but for Wanda. Because in that brief contact, he felt what she feels, a kinship with the darkness, not because she's evil, but because she understands it. She's touched that depth of loss. When Pietro died, when she held Clint's children, and knew her brother would never hold anyone again, she felt the edge of what this entity lives in constantly. We have to help them, Wanda says, rising unsteadily. Vision wants to argue, wants to say they should run, but he knows his wife. She saves people, even people who might be beyond saving. Back at the construction site, Strange makes a desperate play. He calls upon the Time Stone, green energy swirling around his hand, attempting to lock Vader in a temporal loop, the same trick that defeated Dormammu. Time reverses, the fight resets. Vader experiences it once, twice, a dozen times. Strange expects frustration, exhaustion, the eventual surrender to infinite repetition. Instead, Vader does something horrifying. He learns. Each loop, he adapts faster. By the 15th repetition, he's anticipating Strange's movements. By the 20th, he's countering before Strange completes the spells. By the 30th, Vader reaches out through the Force and touches the Time Stone itself. Not physically, through the dark side, feeling its power, understanding its function. Strange feels the stone resist, then waver. That's impossible, he breathes. Nobody can just... Vader crushes his temporal manipulation through sheer force of will. Time snaps back to linear flow. Strange collapses, the backlash from the broken spell nearly stopping his heart. Vader stands over him, this sorcerer supreme who bargains with demons and bends time itself, and feels nothing. No satisfaction, no pride, just the hollow recognition of another obstacle removed. You rely on tools, Vader observes. The eye, the cloak, the trinkets that grant you power. He could kill Strange now, end it, but something stays his hand. Not mercy, but curiosity. This universe has infinity stones, has cosmic entities, has powers that might perhaps free him from the suit that has become his eternal prison. Or perhaps there is no freedom, only different cages. He turns away, leaving Strange gasping in the rubble. Bring me your strongest, Vader says, walking back into shadow. Bring me the ones who command reality itself. Show me if this universe has anyone who understands that some prisons cannot be escaped, only endured until the universe finally has the mercy to end. And in that moment, the Avengers realize they're not fighting a villain. They're fighting a man who wants to die, but can't stop killing first. They assemble in Central Park, the largest clear space available in Manhattan. Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hulk, Thor, recovering but present, and War Machine as backup. The most powerful collection of heroes Earth has ever produced, standing together as they have against every previous threat. S.H.I.E.L.D. has evacuated a half-mile radius. News helicopters circle at maximum safe distance. The world watches, holding its breath, praying that their champions can stop what's coming. Tony Stark has spent the last hour analyzing every second of footage, running psychological profiles, searching for weaknesses. He's found something, not a weakness exactly, but a pattern. Vader fights like someone who expects to die and doesn't care. That gives Tony an angle. Not victory, but maybe understanding, maybe negotiation. He's wrong, but he doesn't know that yet. Vader appears from the tree line, walking with that same mechanical patience, and the temperature drops 10 degrees from his pressy. Ensalone. "All right, Darth. Can I call you Darth?" Tony's voice projects through external speakers, casual despite the tension coiling through every Avenger. "We need to talk. You've made your point. You're strong, you're terrifying, very impressive resume of destruction. But here's the thing, we're not SHIELD agents or solo operators. We're the Avengers. We've fought gods, aliens, and artificial intelligence that wanted to drop a city on the planet. You're outgunned." Vader stops 30 yards away, surveying them with invisible eyes behind that black mask. Tony continues, voice shifting from bravado to something more genuine. "I've read the physiology reports from Strange. That suit isn't just armor, it's life support. You're in constant pain. Every breath is agony. I know something about that. I know what it's like to have metal keeping you alive, to be more machine than man." He taps his arc reactor. "We could help you. Fix whatever's broken. You don't have to keep." "You understand nothing," Vader interrupts, his voice cutting through Tony's appeal like a blade through flesh. "Your metal is a choice, a tool you built to escape death. Mine is a consequence. I burned because I failed, because I loved when I should have remained empty. The suit is not my prison, it is my penance. Every breath reminds me of what I destroyed, what I became." He raises one hand, and Tony's armor locks up completely, every servo frozen mid-motion. "You offer to fix me, as if I am broken, as if I want repair." Tony struggles against the invisible grip, HUD going haywire. "I am not broken, Stark. I am perfected, refined to singular purpose through decades of suffering. Your hope is the disease. I am the cure." He releases Tony, who stumbles forward, armor systems rebooting frantically. The psychological angle just died harder than any of S.H.I.E.L.'s tactical plans. Steve Rogers steps forward, shield raised, voice carrying command authority that has rallied armies. "Avengers Formation Delta 7. Keep him contained, exploit openings, nobody goes in alone." They move like a machine, years of training and trust converting into coordinated action. Hawkeye and War Machine take elevated positions, providing covering fire. Black Widow circles left, exploiting blind spots. Hulk charges right, drawing attention. Thor summons lightning from above. Captain America and Iron Man converge from opposite angles. It's textbook superhero tactics, overwhelm through coordination, prevent the enemy from focusing, create openings through teamwork. It's the strategy that defeated Ultron's drone armies and Loki's Chitauri forces. Vader watches it unfold with the patience of someone who has commanded Star Destroyers and led clone armies against Jedi Masters who moved faster than thought. He's seen better, he's killed better. This is almost insulting. The Force shows him everything. Trajectories before arrows are loosed, attacks before muscles tense, strategies before orders are given. Hawkeye fires explosive arrows from the North Tower. Vader doesn't look, simply gestures, and the arrows curve mid-flight, detonating against the building Hawkeye is standing on. The archer leaps clear, but he's out of position now, scrambling. War Machine unloads with miniguns and micro-missiles. Vader raises a force barrier, a wall of compressed space-time that shatters projectiles and absorbs explosions. The sustained fire lasts 8 seconds before Vader extends his awareness and yanks War Machine from the sky like plucking fruit. Rhodes crashes hard, armor dented, systems failing. Black Widow reaches Vader's flank, moving with assassin grace, exploiting what looks like an opening. It's bait. Vader knew she was there before she did. His hand shoots out and she's lifted, choking, exactly like the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Only Steve's thrown shield forces Vader to release her, the vibranium disc actually pushing through his force defense through sheer momentum and impossible physics. Steve catches the returning shield and charges, using it to deflect the debris Vader hurls telekinetically. He's fast, enhanced to peak human performance, and skilled beyond measure. He gets within striking distance, closer than anyone else has managed, and slams the shield toward Vader's chest with enough force to dent steel. Vader catches it on his forearm, the impact reverberating through his suit, and for a moment they're locked, super soldier strength against dark side augmentation. "You fight with honor," Vader observes, almost respectful. "Admirable. Pointless." He shifts his stance and throws Steve 30 feet without apparent effort, then turns as Hulk arrives like a green avalanche. Now this is a threat. Hulk's strength has no upper limit, fed by rage, and he's angry. Vader braces as a fist the size of his torso crashes down. He doesn't dodge, he redirects, channeling the force through Hulk's own kinetic energy, using the green Goliath's momentum against him. Hulk stumbles, confused, as his own punch throws him off balance. Tony recovers and fires repulsor beams at maximum power, while Thor brings lightning crashing down simultaneously. The combined assault lights up the park like a small sun, energy that should vaporize anything biological. When the light clears, Vader stands in a crater, armor scorched black, cape burned away, but standing. His breathing is labored, pain evident even through the mechanical rhythm. They've hurt him, actually hurt him. Hope flares in the Avengers' hearts. They can do this. They can win. It's the worst thing they could feel. Because Vader has fought while injured before, has led battles with broken limbs and failing organs. Pain is his natural state. They've just entered his element. He reaches out through the Force, not at one Avenger, but at all of them simultaneously, demonstrating what decades of experience against multiple Jedi taught him. You don't fight a coordinated team by picking them off, you destroy the coordination itself. Every Avenger suddenly finds themselves struggling against invisible pressure, not enough to crush, but enough to slow, to disrupt timing, to break the perfect synchronization that made them deadly. Hawkeye's next arrow flies wide. War Machine's targeting systems can't lock. Black Widow stumbles mid-step. Thor's lightning grounds prematurely. Steve's shield throw curves wrong. Tony's repulsors misfire. Hulk roars in fury but finds his leaps shortened, his strength somehow dampened. They're still powerful, still dangerous. But they're individuals now, not a team, and Vader has fought armies of individuals. He advances through their broken formation, and one by one they fall, not killed but defeated, left gasping and broken and forced to watch as this impossible figure walks past them like they're children playing at war. The cameras capture it all. The world watches their champions fail. And somewhere in a dark facility, Thanos, who has been monitoring Earth's defenses, sees Vader's performance and smiles. Finally, someone who understands. Someone who knows that destiny isn't a choice, it's a weight you carry until you can't anymore, and even then, you keep walking. Red energy cuts through the smoke and debris like a bleeding wound in reality. Wanda Maximoff descends into the ruined park, chaos magic swirling around her in patterns that defy physics, geometric impossibilities that exist because she wills them to exist. The Avengers lie broken around Vader, conscious but defeated, and she sees in their eyes what she's never seen before: hopelessness. Steve tries to warn her off, voice hoarse. "Wanda, don't. He's too strong." She doesn't listen, can't listen. Because the resonance that's been building since Vader arrived is now screaming in her skull, a frequency of suffering that matches her own. She doesn't know if she's here to stop him or to understand him. Maybe there's no difference. Vader turns to face her, and the moment their powers truly perceive each other, reality shudders. The dark side of the Force meets chaos magic, and both recognize their twin. The air between them vibrates with potential energy. Wanda's eyes glow crimson as she reaches out, not attacking but feeling, using her powers to touch the edges of Vader's presence. What she finds makes her gasp, layers upon layers of anguish compressed into a singularity of will. She's touched minds before, seen trauma and pain, but this is architectural. This is suffering so profound it has become load-bearing, holding up the structure of his entire existence. "You're in agony," she whispers. "Every second, every breath. How are you still?" Vader's presence pushes back against her probe, not violently but inevitably, like a black hole's gravity. "You already know," he responds. "I feel it in you. The same architecture, the same weight." His hand gestures toward her. "Show me what broke you. Show me your wound." And despite every instinct screaming to resist, Wanda's power responds to his command because on some level it recognizes kinship. The memory explodes between them, Pietro dying in a hail of bullets, his body riddled with holes, his last words a joke because he always joked, even at the end. Wanda feels herself back in that moment, the sensation of her twin's life force winking out, half her soul ripped away. She's sobbed through this memory 1,000 times, but experiencing it while Vader's presence bears witness is different. He doesn't offer sympathy, doesn't diminish it. He simply knows, with the certainty of someone who has lived in that exact space. "A brother," Vader says quietly, "taken by violence, sudden, unfair." His breathing fills the silence. "I lost a mother, then a wife, then myself. The pain does not fade, Maximoff. It simply becomes who you are." The words should comfort, should create connection. Instead, they terrify her, because she sees her potential future standing before her, grief given form and allowed to walk for 40 years. She attacks, not to kill, but to reject what he represents. The idea that loss is inescapable, that pain is permanent, that love leads only to destruction. Chaos magic erupts in waves, rewriting probability around Vader, attempting to unmake him the way she's unmade Ultron drones and Thanos' armies. Reality bends to her will, gravity reverses, time stutters, matter phases between states. Vader stands at the center of the storm, using the Force to anchor himself to certainty, to the absolute truth that he exists, and will continue to exist because the universe is cruel enough to deny him the peace of ending. Their powers clash in ways that make scientists watching from satellite feeds question their understanding of physics. Where chaos magic touches the dark side, new laws of reality briefly emerge, then collapse. Impossible colors, sounds that exist below human hearing, spaces folded into dimensions that shouldn't exist. They're not just fighting, they recreating and destroying micro-universes with each exchange. Vision arrives in a blur of yellow and red, the Mind Stone blazing as he interposes himself between Wanda and Vader. "Cease this at once, you're tearing reality apart." He's right. The park is fracturing, sections phasing between dimensions, trees aging decades in seconds while others regress to saplings. Vader regards Vision with interest. A synthetic being, powered by a stone of infinite potential. Curious. He reaches out and Vision freezes, every system in his artificial body screaming contradictory commands as the Force invades his quantum processors. The Mind Stone pulses wildly, trying to defend its host, but Vader isn't attacking, he's examining. Reading Vision's code, understanding his construction, seeing the love that brought him into existence. "You were built to be a weapon," Vader observes, "but became something else through affection. How tragic." He releases Vision, who staggers back to Wanda's side, processors still rebooting. "You cannot save her from what she's already becoming." "I'm not becoming you," Wanda screams, red energy crackling with her fury. "I choose hope. I choose to remember Pietro with love, not let his death define me." But even as she says it, she feels the lie, because she has let it define her. Every choice since Sokovia has been shaped by his absence. Every relationship filtered through the fear of losing someone else. She's been running from Vader's path while walking it anyway, just slower, with prettier lies. Vader sees the realization dawn in her expression. "Hope is not a choice," he states. "It is a luxury afforded to those who have not yet lost everything. You still have him." He gestures to Vision. "You still have teammates, purpose. When those are taken, and they will be taken, because this universe is no kinder than mine, you will understand. The pain does not make you stronger, it simply makes you unable to stop." His words are prophecy and warning, and shared recognition all at once. Wanda reaches deep, drawing on power she's kept restrained since Westview, since she learned what she's capable of when grief takes control. Reality warps on a massive scale. She attempts to simply rewrite Vader's existence, to make him someone else, someone whole, someone free. For a moment, the armor flickers. Vader gasps, not in pain but in shock, as he feels the Force surge in response to her magic, the dark side feeding on her desperate attempt to change fundamental truth. He sees a flash. Himself without the suit, breathing freely, skin unmarred, Padme alive, Anakin Skywalker whole. The vision is beautiful and false and agony, because it reminds him of everything he destroyed. "Stop!" His Force scream shatters her spell, breaks her concentration, sends her sprawling. When she looks up, tears streaming down her face, she understands why he rejected her gift, because hope hurts worse than despair when you know it's impossible. They start, tanned across from each other, breathing heavily, powers spent for the moment. Two people who have touched the same darkness and emerged changed. Vader speaks quietly, almost gently, a tone that sounds wrong coming from that mechanical voice. "You asked how I survive the pain. I don't. I simply refuse to die before I've burned out every star that witnessed my failure." He turns to leave, this fight no longer holding meaning. Remember this, Maximoff. You think love is worth the suffering. You think it makes you stronger. But when your synthetic companion falls, and he will fall because all things fall, you will understand what I know. Love is the greatest cruelty the universe inflicts, and the suffering never ends. It only grows quieter, more familiar, more you. He walks into the shadow of the city, leaving Wanda kneeling in destroyed grass, Vision trying to comfort her, and both of them knowing that somewhere in that exchange, a terrible seed of recognition was planted. She saw her potential future, and it was wearing black armor. Baron Zemo watches from a secure facility in Eastern Europe, fingers steepled, mind calculating angles. He's not alone. Encrypted channels carry this conversation across continents, connecting minds that usually operate in shadow. Thanos observes from his sanctuary, curious but patient. Loki, recently escaped from Asgardian custody through means even he won't explain, leans forward with interest. Doctor Doom watches from Latveria, armor gleaming in candlelight. They are the architects of chaos, the masterminds who move heroes like chess pieces, and they've all reached the same conclusion. Darth Vader is not an enemy to fight, he's a weapon to acquire. "Gentlemen," Zemo begins, voice smooth as poisoned wine, "we're witnessing something unprecedented, a being who defeats Earth's mightiest heroes not through cosmic power or infinity stones, but through pure will. Imagine what such an ally could accomplish. Imagine what we could accomplish with him." The silence that follows is pregnant with schemes, each villain already planning how to approach the unapproachable. Zemo goes first because he always goes first. Boldness masked as diplomacy, poison delivered with a smile. He appears via hologram in Vader's path 3 hours later, projecting from a safe distance because he's not suicidal. "Lord Vader, I may call you Lord, yes? I represent a coalition of individuals who appreciate your particular talents. The Avengers oppose us because we understand what they refuse to accept. The world is broken. It needs order, structure, a firm hand willing to make the hard choices." He gestures expansively, practiced rhetoric flowing. "We've watched you dismantle their precious team. You're not motivated by greed or madness. You seek order through strength, same as we do. Join us. Together we can reshape this planet into something worthy. No more democratic weakness, no more heroes' play. None at justice, just power, directed with purpose." Zemo believes this speech, has refined it over years, has used variations to turn heroes into allies, to fracture the Avengers from within. Vader listens in silence. "You misunderstand," Vader says when Zemo finally stops talking. "I do not seek order. I do not seek to reshape anything. I am a servant, not to cause or ideology, but to consequences. I serve the dark side because I have no choice. It owns me." He takes a step toward the hologram, and Zemo unconsciously leans back despite the safety of remote projection. "You gather allies because you are weak alone. You scheme because direct confrontation terrifies you. You speak of reshaping the world as if the universe cares about your vision. His mechanical breathing fills the pause. I have served the greatest empire my galaxy has ever known. I have commanded fleets that could sterilize planets, and none of it mattered. Power is not a path to purpose. It is a burden carried by those strong enough to survive it. You want to use me, you can't even use yourself effectively. The hologram flickers as Vader's contempt becomes almost tangible through the Force. Loki tries next, appearing in person with characteristic arrogance masked as charm. The Baron lacks subtlety. Allow me to be direct. You're a god in mortal flesh, wasted on a universe too small to appreciate you. I offer something better. Freedom. I can transport you between realms, dimensions, anywhere you wish. You need not be trapped here. Come with me to Asgard, to Jotunheim, to the dark corners of Yggdrasil where your power would make you king. He conjures illusions, visions of Vader ruling dark kingdoms, feared and worshipped, no longer servant but master. Imagine it. No more battles against gnats like the Avengers, no more. Vader's hand shoots out and Loki's throat closes. The god of mischief claws at invisible fingers, illusions shattering. I was a king once, Vader says quietly, promised a throne by a master who lied. I learned that crowns are just heavier chains. Your freedom is another cage. Leave, before I demonstrate the difference between a trickster and a killer. Meanwhile, Tony Stark makes a call he's avoided for months. To Wong, Doctor Strange's colleague, keeper of mystical artifacts. I need access to the Time Stone, just for analysis. I think I can create a temporal solution to... Wong cuts him off immediately. Absolutely not. Strange barely survived using it against Vader. You're not a sorcerer. You'd destroy yourself and possibly reality. Tony expects this resistance, has arguments prepared. I'm not going to use it directly. I just need to understand how it interacts with Vader's power. If I can map the energy signature, maybe create a resonance field that... He's lying, partially. The truth is, Tony Stark sees a problem he can't solve with intelligence or technology, and it's driving him insane. Heroes don't get to walk away when civilians are dying, so he's going to do something stupid, something dangerous, something that might give them an edge. Wong sees through it immediately but understands desperation, makes the call every Guardian eventually makes, risk versus certain doom. 1 hour, he says, under supervision. And Stark? If you break reality, I'm telling Pepper. Dr. Doom observes these failed recruitments with disdain bordering on disgust. Fools, all of them. They approach Vader as if he's a mercenary, a tool to be bought or flattered into service. Doom understands what they don't. Vader is not motivated by ambition. He's animated by it, the way corpses are animated by necromancy, moving forward because stopping requires acceptance of death. Doom knows this intimately. He wears his own armor for similar reasons, scarred beneath metal, hiding wounds that never heal. But where Vader has surrendered to pain, Doom has weaponized it. We are not so different, you and I. Doom projects his voice across the dimensional barrier, speaking to Vader directly through technological sorcery. Both imprisoned in metal, both scarred by our own ambitions, but I offer you what others cannot: understanding, not alliance, not servitude, recognition between equals. Vader pauses. This one is different, smarter, more honest, also completely irrelevant. Equals, Vader repeats. You still believe yourself important. I know better. Thanos watches these interactions with growing fascination. He doesn't approach, doesn't offer alliance, simply observes, because Thanos, who has dedicated existence to balancing the universe through calculated genocide, recognizes something profound in Vader. This is not a being who kills from ideology. This is entropy given will. The Mad Titan has searched for decades for someone who understands what he understands, that destiny is burden, that power is responsibility, that sometimes mercy is extinction. He sees none of that in Vader. He sees something worse, someone who has transcended purpose entirely and continues moving anyway, like a star that burned out millennia ago but whose light still travels through void. Interesting, Thanos murmurs to empty throne rooms. Very interesting indeed. He makes a note to himself: when the time comes to collect the Infinity Stones, account for Vader, not as enemy, not as ally, as variable, the most dangerous thing any equation can contain. Back in New York, Tony holds the Time Stone, green energy pulsing in his palm, Wong and 3 sorcerers ready to intervene if he loses control. Jarvis, are you getting this? His AI has been scanning the stone's energy signature, building quantum models, searching for anything that might give them an advantage against Vader. The readings are nonsensical. The stone operates outside conventional physics, rewriting causality itself. But there's a pattern there, a mathematical elegance that Tony's genius begins to grasp. If he could weaponize temporal manipulation, create localized loops that trap Vader the way Strange tried to trap Dormammu. His finger moves toward the stone's activation matrix. Wong sees it. Stark, no! Too late. Green energy explodes outward, time fractures, and across the city, Vader feels it, the same power that Strange wielded, now in hands untrained and desperate. He smet aisles beneath his mask. Finally, escalation. Finally, they're moving beyond conventional tactics. Finally, this might become interesting, or fatal. To Vader, there's barely any difference anymore. The Time Stone activates in Tony's hand like a sun going supernova in miniature. Green energy cascades outward, not in controlled patterns like when Strange wields it, but in chaotic fractals that spiderweb through space-time itself. Wong screams warnings that arrive too late, his protective wards shattering like glass against the temporal shockwave. Reality splits. Not cleanly, not precisely, but like fabric tearing under stress, creating gaps, overlaps, moments where past and future and never were bleed through into now. Tony sees it all simultaneously, himself as a child, himself dying in Afghanistan, himself old and grey with grandchildren who will never exist. Jarvis goes silent, unable to process data from timelines that contradict each other. And across the city, Darth Vader, who has spent 40 years existing in singular terrible certainty, suddenly perceives something he hasn't experienced since Mustafar: possibility. The sensation is agony worse than any physical pain, because possibility is hope, and hope is the cruelest torture the universe can inflict. The visions hit Vader like force lightning to unprotected nerves. He sees himself, not Vader, but Anakin Skywalker, whole and unmarred, on Mustafar with Obi-Wan. But in this timeline, this impossible timeline that trembles at the edge of having been, Anakin doesn't attack. He listens. Padme's words reach him through the rage, and he sees what he's becoming, and he stops. The vision shows years cascading forward. Anakin training his children in the Jedi Temple, Luke and Leia growing up with both parents, Padme grey-haired and laughing on Naboo, Anakin old and scarred but free, dying peacefully surrounded by grandchildren who bear his eyes. The vision is perfect, unbearable, a future stolen by a single choice made in rage and fear. Vader staggers, his breathing apparatus straining as emotions he buried decades ago claw their way back to the surface. "No," he whispers, voice breaking. "No, that is not real." But the Time Stone doesn't care about his denial. More timelines erupt, each one a variation on salvation. Anakin rejecting Palpatine's seduction entirely, remaining loyal to the Council. Anakin confessing his secret marriage and being expelled from the Order but keeping Padme alive. Anakin dying in the Clone Wars before corruption took root, remembered as a hero. Timelines where he never met Palpatine, where Qui-Gon survived, where his mother lived, where Shmi Skywalker's love was enough to anchor him against the dark side's pull. Each vision is a knife driven into psychological wounds that never healed, showing Vader every possible path away from the hell he's inhabited for 4 decades. The cruelty is exquisite, more refined than any Sith torture. Because these aren't just fantasies, they're mathematical realities in parallel dimensions, worlds where Anakin Skywalker did make better choices, existing simultaneously with this one where he made the worst choice imaginable. Tony sees it happening through satellite feeds, Vader collapsing to his knees in the middle of Fifth Avenue, armored hands clutching his helmet, the dark side energy around him fluctuating wildly between rage and anguish. Traffic has long since evacuated this area, but distant cameras capture something unprecedented. The unstoppable force brought low not by weapons or magic, but by what might have been. "Jarvis, shut it down! Shut it all down!" Tony screams, but the AI still can't respond, locked in temporal paradox. Wong and the other sorcerers are chanting, trying to close the fractures, but the damage is done. Time has become unstable in a 3-block radius. People age and de-age randomly. Buildings exist in multiple states of construction simultaneously. And at the epicenter, Vader experiences every possible version of himself that chose differently. The weight of 40 years of certainty, that he had no choice, that destiny was inevitable, that Anakin Skywalker had to die, crumbles under the evidence of roads not taken. The worst vision comes last, slipping through the fractures like poison through a wound. Vader sees himself in the Marvel universe, but arrived differently. Arrived as Anakin, not Vader, still scarred, still damaged, but before the final fall. Sees himself meeting heroes who believe in redemption, who would have helped him, who would have shown him that one terrible choice doesn't have to define existence. Sees Padmé alive in some timeline, waiting, wondering where her husband went. Sees his children growing up not knowing their father became a monster. The vision answers the question he's avoided for decades. Would I have changed, given different circumstances? The answer, impossibly, is yes. In 1,000 different timelines, Anakin Skywalker found redemption, found peace, found a way back to the light. Only in this one, this specific, terrible configuration of choices and consequences, did he become Vader permanently. The realization breaks something fundamental in his psyche, because it means his suffering isn't destiny, it's just bad luck. Cruel, random, meaningless bad luck. "Make it stop!" Vader's force scream shatters windows for 6 blocks, a telekinetic shockwave born from psychological collapse. The dark side surges in response to his anguish, feeding on it, growing stronger even as its vessel crumbles. Cars flip, buildings crack. The ground itself fractures as decades of suppressed grief erupts in a single moment of vulnerability. Tony finally manages to deactivate the stone, pulling it away from his chest where green energy has started burning through his armor. The temporal fractures begin closing, sealing away the visions of what could have been. But the damage is done. Vader has seen the truth he's spent 40 years avoiding. He isn't a victim of destiny. He's a victim of himself. Every choice that led here was his. Every path away from this hell was a label. He just never took them. The weight of that recognition is worse than any lightsaber wound, worse than burning alive on Mustafar, worse than 40 years in the suit. He rises slowly, mechanically, breathing labored, not from physical damage, but from the effort of reconstructing walls that just collapsed. The dark side wraps around him like a familiar blanket, cold and comforting and utterly certain. He pulls the rage back in, the grief, the recognition of roads not taken, buries them under layers of Durasteel will, becomes Vader again, piece by piece, because the alternative, admitting that Anakin could have been saved, is unendurable. When he speaks, his voice is perfectly controlled, emotionless, the voice of a man who has just rebuilt his prison from the inside. "Stark," he says, addressing the distant figure through the Force, knowing Tony can hear him through whatever technological means Stark has employed. "You have shown me timelines where I made different choices. You thought this would weaken me, give me doubt, make me hesitate." A pause, filled only by mechanical breathing. "You have done the opposite. You've proven that every moment I choose this path. I am not trapped. I am not helpless. I am willing." The declaration reverberates through the Force, through the fracturing city, reaching every hero who hoped that Vader might be reasoned with, might be saved. They understand now what Wong understood from the beginning. Some people carry darkness, not because they're forced to, but because letting it go would mean admitting all the pain was preventable. All the suffering was chosen. All the years could have been different. That admission is worse than death. So Vader walks forward, through ruined streets, past broken heroes, into the shadow of buildings that exist in 3 states of time simultaneously. And he knows now, with terrible clarity, that he will destroy this universe not because he wants to, not because he has to, but because choosing destruction is the only way to validate the choices he made before, to make them mean something, to make the suffering matter, because if his pain is meaningless, then Anakin Skywalker died for nothing, and that truth would kill him faster than any lightsaber ever could. The temporal collapse leaves Manhattan fractured in ways that will take years to repair. Buildings exist in multiple time states, construction scaffolding phase shifts into finished skyscrapers, then back to empty lots in cycles that make physicists weep. People trapped in the affected zone age forward and backward randomly, children becoming elderly, then infant, then adult in horrifying loops. Wong and the remaining sorcerers work frantically to stabilize reality, but it's like stitching together a fabric that keeps tearing in new places. The Avengers gather in what's left of their tower, battered and broken and facing a truth they've never confronted before. They might actually lose. Steve sits with his head in his hands, shield cracked down the middle from Vader's last attack. Tony's in medical, recovering from temporal burns that aged his heart tissue 40 years, ours in 40 seconds. Thor stares at Mjolnir, wondering if even Odin faced something this inexorable. And Wanda Maximoff makes a decision that will haunt whatever remains of her soul. She finds vision in the ruins of their temporary quarters, the Mind Stone in his forehead pulsing erratically. It's been unstable since Vader touched it, resonating with the dark side energy like a tuning fork that won't stop vibrating. "We can't win this fight with power," Wanda says quietly. "He's stronger than all of us, more experienced. He's fought gods and armies and come out standing." Vision processes this, quantum mind running scenarios, each one ending in failure or catastrophic civilian casualties. "Then what do you propose?" Wanda's eyes glow red, chaos magic swirling around her fingers with purpose now, not panic. "I propose we give him what he wants, not victory, not death, but purpose." Vision's processors freeze as he realizes what she's suggesting. "Wanda, no, you can't. The cost would be..." She cuts him off with a kiss, gentle and final. "I know the cost. That's why it has to be me." Her plan is simple and monstrous. Create a pocket reality like Westview, but smaller, more focused. A reality where Vader has something to protect instead of destroy, where his power serves a purpose beyond endless violence, where the pain has meaning. She's studied him through their encounters, felt his resonance, understands what drives him. Vader doesn't want power or freedom. He wants his suffering to matter, to serve something greater than his own damnation. So she'll give him that. Give him a construct reality where he's needed, where his strength protects instead of annihilates, where Anakin Skywalker's ghost can finally rest because Darth Vader has become something other than destroyer. The spell will require her to anchor herself to his consciousness, to maintain the illusion through constant contact with the dark side. It will corrupt her, change her, possibly destroy her completely. Vision begs her not to. She goes anyway, because that's what heroes do. They sacrifice themselves to save others, even if others includes a monster in black armor. She finds Vader at ground zero of the temporal fracture, standing perfectly still as reality shifts around him. He's not meditating, not planning, simply existing in that space of terrible clarity the visions granted him, the knowledge that everything he's suffered was chosen. "I know what you need," Wanda calls out, red energy already forming complex patterns in the air. Vader turns slowly. "You know nothing, child." His voice carries warning, but also curiosity. She's the only one who's hurt him psychologically, the only one who's touched the wound that never heals. "I know you're looking for purpose," she continues, walking closer despite every instinct screaming to run. "For meaning, for something that makes the pain worth it. Your empire fell, your master used you, your children never knew you, you're adrift in a universe that doesn't need you." Each word lands like precision strikes. Vader's breathing intensifies. "What are you offering?" "A world," Wanda says, and the chaos magic explodes outward, not attacking but creating. Reality bends around them, a pocket dimension forming from her will and desperation. Vader tries to resist, the Force pushing back against her magic, but she's not trying to trap him. She's trying to give him something. The pocket reality crystallizes, a city under siege, civilians trapped, monsters attacking, constructs from her imagination but real enough within this space, and standing between them and annihilation, a single armored figure holding the line. "Here," Wanda gasps, the effort of maintaining the construct already tearing at her mind. "You have purpose. Protect them. Save them. Let your power mean something other than destruction." Inside the pocket reality, phantom civilians cry out for help. Phantom children hide behind Vader's cape. Phantom hope depends on his strength. It's a beautiful lie, and for a moment, just a moment, Vader almost accepts it. Then he shatters it. One gesture, pure force, pure will, and the pocket reality disintegrates like morning mist. Wanda collapses, the backlash from the broken spell nearly stopping her heart. Vision appears instantly, catching her, the Mind Stone flaring as it shields her from total psychic collapse. Vader stands over them, and his voice when he speaks carries a weight that makes even Vision's synthetic heart skip. "You think I want purpose? You think I search for meaning?" He leans down, black mask inches from Wanda's face. "I had purpose once. I served the Jedi Order, then I served the Emperor, then I served destiny itself. Every purpose I've ever had has been a chain, another master, another lie dressed as meaning." His hand gestures and they're both lifted slightly off the ground, held by invisible force. "I don't want purpose, Maximoff. I want silence. I want the universe to stop demanding I be something. Hero, villain, savior, destroyer. I want to simply stop." "Then why don't you?" Wanda manages to choke out through the Force grip. It's a genuine question, born from her own struggles with grief and power. If he truly wants nothing, craves only ending, why does he keep fighting? Why not just stop? The question hangs in fractured air. Vader releases them, turning away, and for a moment his shoulders sag in a way that makes him look almost human. Because stopping requires surrender, and surrender requires accepting that all of this, 40 years of suffering, galaxies worth of deaths, the complete annihilation of who I was, meant nothing. That I could have simply chosen differently at any point. His breathing fills the silence. So I continue, not from purpose, not from hope, but because the alternative is admitting that Anakin Skywalker's sacrifice was meaningless, that Padmé died for nothing, that the children I never knew grew up fatherless for no reason. I cannot accept that, so I walk, and I destroy, because if I'm destroying, then at least the pain has direction. Vision helps Wanda to her feet, both of them staring at Vader's back, understanding finally reaching them. He's not a villain seeking conquest, not a hero fallen to darkness. He's something worse. A man trapped between wanting to die and needing his suffering to mean something, locked in perpetual motion by the impossibility of resolution. "We can't save you," Wanda whispers. Vader's breathing is his only response. She tries again. "But maybe we can help you stop. Give you permission to lay down the burden. No judgment, no condemnation, just peace." For 5 heartbeats, Vader stands completely still. The city holds its breath. Every hero watching from a distance dares to hope that maybe, impossibly, this could end without more death. Then Vader speaks 4 words that seal the fate of everyone involved. There is no peace. The dark side surges. The final confrontation begins, and Wanda realizes her terrible choice didn't save anyone. It just ensured she'll be standing next to Vader when the universe finally forces the ending he's been craving and dreading for 40 years. They come from everywhere. Every hero who can still stand, every enhanced individual who hasn't fled, every person with power who understands that this moment defines whether Earth survives or becomes another graveyard in Vader's wake. Doctor Strange arrives through portals, bringing sorcerers from every sanctum. The X-Men emerge from the shadows. Magneto manipulating metal, Storm calling lightning. Professor X attempting one last psychic assault, despite knowing it will fail. Black Panther leads Wakandan warriors equipped with vibranium weapons. Captain Marvel descends from orbit, cosmic energy blazing. Even villains join, Loki alongside Thor, Doom observing from dimensional barriers, calculating whether survival requires cooperation. They form a perimeter around Vader in what remains of Central Park, hundreds strong, the greatest concentration of power Earth has ever assembled. And Darth Vader stands at the center, alone, breathing his mechanical rhythm, and feels nothing but tired familiarity. He's faced armies before. This is just another Tuesday in a lifetime of Tuesdays that refuse to end. The assault begins simultaneously from every vector. An orchestrated strike years of heroic cooperation have perfected. Storm's lightning combines with Thor's divine energy, creating electrical cascades that should atomize anything biological. Magneto rips every piece of metal from surrounding buildings, creating a storm of steel directed by master control. Sorcerers weave dimensional bindings, attempting to lock Vader between realities. Captain Marvel hits him like a meteor, cosmic power focused into a single punch. The combined attack lights up satellite feeds, energy readings off every scale, and for exactly 4 seconds the heroes believe they might actually overwhelm him through sheer volume of power. Then Vader moves, not frantically, not desperately, with the practiced efficiency of someone who has fought wars across galaxies, who has commanded legions, who learned combat from Jedi Masters before killing them all. The dark side erupts like a supernova and the tide turns instantly. Lightning redirects mid-strike, grounding into heroes instead of Vader. Magneto's metal storm reverses, impaling Wakandan shields, crushing against vibranium barriers. Dimensional bindings shatter as Vader simply refuses to acknowledge their existence, his will so absolute that reality bends rather than contain him. Captain Marvel's punch actually connects, driving Vader back 3 steps, armor cracking, and she presses the advantage, cosmic energy blazing. For a moment she's winning, raw power versus dark discipline, and then Vader catches her fist in one hand, stops her completely. The binary energy coursing through her meets the dark side, and they annihilate each other, creating a dead zone where neither power functions. Impressive, Vader acknowledges, then headbutts her with enough force to crack her invulnerability. She drops, stunned, and Vader moves to the next threat. Always the next threat, always forward, never stopping, because stopping means thinking, and thinking means remembering timelines where he chose differently. Professor X makes his attempt, the most powerful telepath on Earth, driving into Vader's mind with everything he has, not to control but to understand, to find the crack in the armor where Anakin Skywalker still exists. He finds it, finds the boy who wanted to free slaves, the young man who loved too deeply, the father who never met his children. Xavier pulls at that thread with desperate hope. "You can still choose differently. It's not too late. Anakin." The name hits Vader like a physical blow. His concentration wavers. Heroes press forward, sensing weakness. Xavier pushes deeper, trying to rebuild the bridges burned 40 years ago, trying to show Vader that redemption is possible even now, even here, even after everything. It almost works. Vader feels something crack in his chest that isn't mechanical, feels tears he can't cry building behind the mask, feels the weight of 40 years starting to shift. Then the dark side, ancient and patient and intimate with his pain, whispers, "If you let go now, all of it was for nothing." The crack seals. Vader's will crushes Xavier's psychic assault like paper. The telepath screams and collapses, bleeding from eyes and nose. Wanda feels it happening. Xavier's psychic collapse, the moment where Vader could have been saved, slipping away like water through fingers. She knows what she has to do, what she's always known she'd have to do since feeling his resonance. She pulls Vision close, the Mind Stone between them glowing with golden light. "I love you," she whispers. "Remember that. When this is over, when I'm gone, remember I chose this." Vision's processors scream warnings, calculating what she's planning. the probability of success, the certainty of her death. Wanda, there must be another way. There isn't. There never was. She kisses him one last time, then pushes him away with chaos magic, sending him tumbling through the eye. To safety. Then she turns to Vader, red energy building around her, not for attack, not for defense, but for sacrifice. She's going to do what Strange tried with the Time Stone, what the Avengers tried with coordination, what Xavier tried with psychic assault. She's going to give Vader what he truly wants. She's going to kill him, and herself, and possibly reality in the process. The chaos magic erupts in ways that violate every law of physics Marvel's greatest minds have documented. She's not rewriting probability anymore, she's rewriting existence, creating a space where life and death occupy the same moment, where Vader can finally stop without admitting defeat, where the suffering can end without meaninglessness. It's the ultimate act of empathy, to give someone the death they crave in a way that validates their pain. Vader feels it building, feels the familiar pull of approaching ending, and for the first time since arriving in this universe, he doesn't resist, doesn't fight, lets the red energy wash over him like a tide he's been waiting for since Mustafar. Around them, heroes watch in horror and hope as Wanda burns herself out like a star going supernova, consuming her own life force to create the spell that might finally grant Vader peace. Vision screams, trying to reach her, but the energy field pushes back everything, creating a space where only Wanda and Vader exist. Reality fractures, the pocket dimension forms, and Vader closes his eyes. But Vision won't accept it, won't let the woman he loves sacrifice herself for a monster in armor. The Mind Stone blazes as he forces his way through the chaos magic barrier, synthetic body burning, quantum processors failing, but he reaches them, reaches into the spell Wanda's created and changes it. Not to stop her, he knows better, but to redirect the sacrifice, to make it his instead of hers. The Mind Stone, one of the 6 singularities that govern reality itself, meets chaos magic and the dark side in a trinity of impossible power. Vision speaks his last words directly into Wanda's mind. You deserve to live, to grieve, to heal. Let me do this. Then he channels everything, the stone's power, his love, his entire existence, into a single act. He doesn't try to kill Vader. He tries to free him, to break the connection between Anakin Skywalker's ghost and Darth Vader's shell, to finally, impossibly, grant the separation Vader has craved and feared for 40 years. The Mind Stone shatters, Vision dies, and something fundamental in Darth Vader's soul shifts. The explosion levels 6 city blocks. When the light fades, Wanda kneels in a crater, holding Vision's empty shell, the Mind Stone scattered to dust, her grief so profound that chaos magic spirals out of control, warping reality for miles. Heroes rush to contain it, to comfort her, to process what just happened. And in the center of the devastation, Darth Vader stands perfectly still. His armor is scorched, his breathing is labored, but something has changed. The dark side still surrounds him, the power remains, the pain endures. But for the first time in 40 years, there's a crack in the absolute certainty, a space where doubt can exist, where choice becomes possible again. He looks at Wanda, this woman who understands his suffering, who just lost everything trying to save him, and speaks words he hasn't meant in decades. I am sorry. Then he turns and walks into the smoke, not fleeing, not retreating, but no longer attacking. The battle is over. Nobody won, and everyone lost, exactly as the universe has always intended. 3 days after the battle, New York still burns in places the fire department can't reach. The temporal fractures have stabilized but left scars, buildings frozen mid-collapse, streets where time moves slower, sections of the city that exist 5 minutes in the past forever. S.H.I.E.L.D. counts casualties in the thousands. The Avengers Tower is rubble. Vision is gone, his consciousness scattered with the Mind Stone's destruction, irretrievable. Wanda Maximoff sits in a psychiatric facility, catatonic with grief, chaos magic leaking from her in waves that require constant mystic containment. She saved the world by losing everything, which is apparently how heroism works in universes built on suffering. And Darth Vader stands on the ruins of the Statue of Liberty, looking out over water that reflects a sky he doesn't belong under, trying to understand what Vision's sacrifice actually accomplished. The crack in his certainty hasn't healed, can't heal, because Vision didn't just attack the dark side, he attacked the justification Vader has built his entire existence upon. For 40 years, Vader has told himself a story, that his suffering serves the Emperor, serves order, serves something greater than the pain itself, that Anakin Skywalker's death purchased something meaningful, even if that meaning was dark. Vision's final act shattered that narrative by demonstrating something Vader spent decades denying, that selfless sacrifice can exist without corruption, that love doesn't inevitably lead to possession and destruction, that someone can choose death for another's benefit and have it actually mean what it's supposed to mean. Vision loved Wanda, died for her, and nothing was corrupted in that act. No dark side claimed him, no empire rose from his ashes, just pure, stupid, heroic sacrifice that actually worked exactly as intended. It's everything Anakin tried to do for Padme, everything he failed to accomplish, and seeing it succeed breaks something that the Time Stone's visions only cracked. Vader realizes, with horror deeper than any he's known, that his failure wasn't destiny, it was just failure, simple, meaningless, avoidable. The Avengers gather in a secured location to decide what happens next. Steve Rogers, arm in a sling, argues for containment. He's shown capacity for restraint. He could have killed Wanda but didn't. That means something. Tony Stark, recovering from temporal burns, disagrees. Or it means he's unpredictable, unstable, a walking weapon of mass destruction having an existential crisis. That's arguably worse than when he was simply murderous. Thor remains silent, still processing his defeat. Natasha watches satellite feeds showing Vader's position, unmoving for 3 days straight. He's waiting, she observes. For what? Nobody has an answer. Doctor Strange, barely recovered from his own injuries, offers perspective from his mystical studies. He's waiting for us to make a choice, to give him purpose. Imprisonment, execution, exile, anything. Because making his own choice requires accepting responsibility for 40 years of atrocities. He can't do that, so he waits for someone else to decide his fate. It's pathetic and terrifying in equal measure. Thanos watches from his sanctuary, the Space Throne's view screens showing Earth's deliberations. He's seen enough. This universe has a Darth Vader problem, and the heroes are too soft to solve it properly. But Thanos sees opportunity where others see threat. Vader is powerful, skilled, and critically broken in ways that make him potentially malleable, not through promises of power or threats of destruction, but through offering something simpler, an ending with meaning. When Thanos begins his collection of Infinity Stones, when the universe requires balancing, perhaps Vader can be convinced to serve one final purpose, to let his suffering mean something by ending half of all life, granting the mercy of extinction to trillions. It's poetry of a sort. The man who wanted to stop walking finally given permission to stop, but only after one last terrible act. Thanos smiles. Plans within plans. Vader won't agree easily. But given time, given the right pressure, given the growing weight of purposeless existence, yes, this could work. The Mad Titan makes his preparations. On the 7th day, Wanda wakes from her catatonia. The first word she speaks is vision. The second is gone. Then she screams, and chaos magic tears through containment wards like tissue paper, reality warping for 3 city blocks before Strange and Wong can reinforce the barriers. When she finally calms enough to speak, her message is delivered through tears and rage and grief that will never fully heal. Don't kill him. Don't imprison him. Let him walk. Let him carry what Vision gave him. The knowledge that he could have been different, that every moment he chooses this. Let that be his punishment, not death, not purpose, just eternal knowing. It's the cruelest sentence imaginable, and everyone in the room understands it's also the most appropriate. Vader wanted his suffering to mean something. Wanda has given him the opposite, suffering that means nothing except his own failure to choose better. It's perfect. It's horrible. It's exactly what a universe built on grimdark irony would demand. They send Steve Rogers to deliver the verdict. Captain America, symbol of hope and second chances, stands on Liberty Island facing the Dark Lord of the Sith. "We're not going to fight you. We're not going to imprison you. We're letting you go." Vader's breathing is his only response. Steve continues, voice heavy with exhaustion. "But you need to understand, Vision died showing you something. That sacrifice can be pure, that love doesn't have to destroy, that you could have chosen differently every single day for 40 years. You're free to walk away from Earth, from this universe, from everything. Or you can stay and try to be something other than a monument to suffering. The choice is yours. It's always been yours." That's what Vision's death proved. Vader stands silent for a long moment. Then he speaks, voice carrying weight that makes even Steve want to step back. "Where I walk, death follows, not from choice, from inevitability. I am entropy in armor. You offer me freedom as if I know what to do with it." "Then figure it out," Steve says quietly. "That's what the rest of us do. We wake up, we make choices, we live with consequences. You don't get to hide behind destiny or dark sides or imperial service anymore. You're just a man in armor who has to decide every morning whether to be better or worse. Welcome to what the rest of us call life." He turns to leave, then pauses. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For whatever happened in your galaxy that broke you this badly, nobody deserves 40 years of suffering. But suffering doesn't excuse what you've done here. Vision's family will never see him again because he tried to save you. Wanda will carry that grief forever. Thousands are dead. You don't get to call that meaningful sacrifice. You just have to carry it. Same as everyone else carries their mistakes." Steve walks away, shield still cracked, shoulders heavy with the weight of letting a monster go free. Vader watches him leave and feels the crack in his certainty widen into a chasm. Vision didn't save him. Vision condemned him to something worse than death, choice. 30 days later, Darth Vader leaves Earth through a quantum bridge. Shield opens to be rid of him, a one-way portal to a distant galaxy. He doesn't thank them, doesn't apologize, simply walks through, cape billowing, breathing his eternal rhythm, carrying the weight of 2 universes worth of suffering. He never speaks Vision's name, never acknowledges Wanda's grief. But in his quarters, in the darkness between stars, he sometimes hears echoes of timelines where Anakin Skywalker chose differently, where love didn't corrupt, where sacrifice meant what it was supposed to mean. Those echoes will follow him forever, whispers of better paths not taken, and they will hurt worse than any lightsaber wound. Because Vader finally understands the cruelest truth the universe offers: you don't need chains to be imprisoned. You just need to know with absolute certainty that you chose the chains yourself, and that every day forward you choose them again, not from destiny, not from purpose, just from the simple, terrible fact that you've forgotten how to do anything else. The breathing continues, the walking continues, the suffering continues, and somewhere in a universe he left behind, Wanda Maximoff weeps for a synthetic man who proved that love could save the world, just not the monster she tried to save. The Marvel Universe didn't defeat Darth Vader. It only proved that some people can't be saved from themselves, and that perhaps is the darkest truth of all. The end. Could anyone have saved Vader? Or was Vision's sacrifice the only mercy possible, proving that redemption exists even if Vader couldn't accept it? What happens when a universe built on hope meets a man who has none, and discovers that hope can't fix someone who doesn't want fixing? In the end, is Vader a victim of the dark side, or is the dark side just a name for choices he made and keeps making? If these questions haunt you the way they haunt the Marvel Universe, share this story. Let others grapple with what happens when grimdark inevitability meets comic book heroism, and neither side wins. Because sometimes the cruelest ending isn't death, it's living with the knowledge that everything could have been different and wasn't